And the ANC's nearly 3-month election campaign period will end at its Siyanqoba Rally at the FNB Stadium outside Soweto in Johannesburg this morning. For more, let's cross to SABC News political reporter Samkele Maseko, who of course gave us that headline a bit earlier on what to expect. Samkele, a very good morning to you indeed. Have ANC supporters and members started trickling in? Of course, I can see a bit behind you. And we heard, of course, from the ANC president that they're expecting about 100,000 members and supporters. What does it look like at the FNB Stadium this morning? And what are we likely to hear from the ANC president in this last-minute push to try and get voters to go out and vote for his party on Wednesday?
Well, Griselda, at this point in time, as I step out of shop, just to show you that ANC members have started trickling in at the Calabash, the FNB Stadium, the 90,000 capacitor stadium, which has come to symbolize the strength of political formations in the country, particularly that of the African National Congress. Remember, in the second term of former President Mbeki, in that election, they came to this stadium before. It was refurbished during former President Jacob Zuma's campaign for his second term as well. In that particular campaign that cut across 9 stadiums when former President Hlengisa Zuma was campaigning for his second election as head of state, they cut across 9 stadiums anchored by the FNB Stadium. Numbers are starting to trickle in. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says this will signal the strength of the African National Congress in the last push ahead of the elections on Wednesday. But I'm going to bring in Mahlengi Bhengu, the ANC spokesperson. Just the essence, where are most of those members of the ANC supporters coming to the stadium? Which provinces are they coming from?
Well, the neighboring provinces, but the huge majority of those that are here and that are trickling in Samkele are from the Gauteng province. But as you can see, we've already seen people coming from Mpumalanga, and so you could say that the neighboring provinces are also going to be making a contribution. We could fill the stadium with Gauteng alone, but it is important that people get a sense of oneness as we close out on a very spirited elections campaign.
What can South Africans look forward to on the speech of the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, particularly knowing that yesterday in your endorsement gala dinner, there was no prepared speech? He essentially spoke from the heart. What can South Africans watching here at the FNB Stadium look forward to in this particular final speech of the campaign?
Well, one of the things that you've just mentioned, the testimonials and the endorsements that the ANC has received from across a very wide ranging and wide spectrum in society, from artists to writers to academics and all of that. And that has really bolstered our campaign as well, because these are opinion makers of repute in society. We do expect that the president will remind South Africans about the 6 priorities contained in our manifesto, will remind South Africans about what the 2019 manifesto review exercise revealed to us about the things we ought to be doing better and with accelerated pace. He would, of course, also reflect on him being the face of the election campaign of the ANC, having crisscrossed the country, and what the ANC found there and what he himself found there. I'm certain that that will be a point of reflection, and which has gotten us to a point where we are convinced that our campaign was strong enough, our message and our core narrative was strong enough, and our reconnection with the people was strong enough. And that is why we are absolutely emboldened that come the 29th of May, the African National Congress is going to be voted back into government.
What are the main factors that keep him so emboldened these days and on the verge of basically saying that I've won this, relax? He's chilled as if he's already won the election.
Well, I suppose it's been that door-to-door experience, the mini rallies, the pilgrimage to stalwarts and fallen leaders and heroes and heroines of the ANC, the consultation with the remaining families and the remaining elders, the elders of the ANC voluntarily saying we're joining this campaign of the movement of our forefathers. So it's a variety of factors, but more importantly, it's been a thing of the president sitting down, and I'm been on the campaign trail with him, sitting down with an elderly person, and an elderly person saying, this is a problem with water, but I know where this country comes from. I'm voting the ANC. Fix this, fix that. And I think that taken that message to heart. And I think those are some of the elements that have gotten us and have gotten the president to be very much, as you say, very much emboldened. It's a number of those factors. And I think I haven't seen the president of the ANC being this light in a space such as the campaign trail. And I think, as you would have said to yourselves, colleagues in the media, that he wishes this couldn't end, because that thing of connecting with our people with humility, but also telling our story, the story of democracy, the story of transformation, and why we're asking to be re-elected so that the dream of freedom shall not be deferred.
But what can South Africans take out of this particular rally, knowing that many of them face poverty, inequality, underdevelopment, the triple challenges that bedevil this particular country, looking at the deplorable conditions that South Africans, in particular the black majority and the minorities, the colored community, are living under? You just go to areas such as Riverlea, where they are seriously struck by poverty. You go to Kukuletu, you go to Cyril Ramaphosa informal settlement. It's just poverty left, right and center.
It is correct, but you also have to look at how many South Africans have benefited from the delivery of basic services since 30 years ago, since the transition to democracy, to constitutional democracy. You also have to look at how the infrastructure, public infrastructure, has had to be stretched as a result of the transition to democracy, when it was the infrastructure that provided for a minority. We also have to look at, and of course the point is the infrastructure needs to be looked at, and government needs to pay attention to ensure that infrastructure is serviced throughout. But look at the fact that today 93% of those that are funded in higher education are funded through NSFAS. And this is a dream that has not been deferred, because for the first time we have such a big number of graduates as a result of that. Of course, the argument would be made that they graduate but with no employment. But that ability to have human development and to have that certificate and that degree, or that postgraduate degree, is something that was unseen or unheard of 30 years ago. Think about water provision. Yes, South Africa is a water-scarce country, but how many people and how many households have got a tap in the yard for the first time in the past 30 years? Unbeknown to many of us who grew up in the rural areas. Much more work needs to be done to ensure that we deal with the issues of water provision, such as what we see Minister Senzo Mchunu doing, the building and the upscaling of dams, a number of dams that are currently in construction to help us deal with the challenges of water reticulation. Talk about primary health care, talk about all of those things. So yes, the stubborn challenges and the intractable challenges of poverty, unemployment and inequality persist. The challenge about inequality requires all of society approach. It requires big business. It requires those that have access to the means of production to really be genuine about wanting to build an economically inclusive society and work with government, just by way of example.
The president, in one of his State of the Nation addresses, particularly says, inspired by the late J.C. Duarte, at the time she was still alive, a bullet train that cuts across Gauteng, Eastern Cape, going towards Durban. That has not come to fruition. A new smart city that was envisaged in Lanseria has not come to fruition. A new smart city between Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal around Port Edward, that particular belt, has not yet come to fruition. Big dreams. He was even called a big dreamer in that State of the Nation address. Nothing has come to fruition.
Well, let's reflect on the past 5 years, though. And this is really not to make excuses for any slow pace of execution, because the policies are there, great set of policies. Where there have been a slow pace of execution, let's talk about it. But let's also contextualize things, Samkele. Look at the past 5 years. To name a few, look at the July riots and the investments that government had to make in order to address the disruption and the destruction of the infrastructure. from a safety and security perspective to infrastructure redevelopment and all of that. Look at the COVID experience. In fact, President Ramaphosa is counted among the presidents or a leader of a country that excellently managed the COVID experience, praised even by countries in the global north. And of course, then the geopolitical and the socio-economic situation, that has a bearing on how our economy functions. I agree that a whole lot much more must be done to really tackle the ownership patterns in our economy. That forms part of the resolutions of the ANC, that forms part of our manifesto.
Are you taking the battle to the capitalist class, the tiny minority, the 3% of the white males who control this economy?
The economic emancipation is the biggest deal when we go back to government.
Thank you very much. Mahlengi Bhengu, the spokesperson of the ANC. When can the president expect him to take to the podium?
Well, as you can see, Samkele, I mean, the stadium is filling up quite fast. I suspect that for the first time in a while, the ANC may start the thing on time, but the president is ready to come through. We're just waiting for all of our people who are coming from other parts of Gauteng and other parts of provinces to trickle in.
Is the ex-official member Thabo Mvunyelompeki, former president, coming to the stadium?
I need to confirm that. I know that this evening we all are going to be flocking to where he will be delivering the Africa Day lecture. And it forms part of the activities of the ANC, the build-up activities to the 29th. And it forms part of the Siyanqoba activities. It's been branded as such. As to whether he will be able to come in for that as an elder, knowing that he'll be delivering the lecture, I will have to confirm. I'll provide the information.
So essentially the ANC leadership is going to the Africa Day lecture this evening?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That is Mahlengi Bhengu essentially saying that the ANC campaign continues right until the evening of the Africa Day lecture, which is an annual lecture hosted by former President Thabo Mvunyelompeki, saying that they are filling up the stadium, sending a strong message to their detractors that they are all in this particular election for the win. Chris Helder.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Samkele Maseko, live to us from the ANC's Siyanqoba Rally. And certainly the EFF, you would also know, today is also expected to hold its final election rally at the new Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane in Limpopo. Well, the party launched its election manifesto in February this year in Durban under the theme Our Land and Jobs Now, Stop Load Shedding. So the party, which is the third largest party in the country, currently has 44 seats in the 400-seat National Assembly after obtaining just over 10% of the vote, and it hopes to increase its support at next week's election. With just 4 days before the general elections, parties are desperate to share a message that will resonate with the electorate. You take a look at that. Those are live pictures from the new Peter Mokaba Stadium. As you see, EFF members and supporters are trickling into the stadium there. Well, the party is the official opposition in Limpopo following the 2019 general elections. The EFF received 1.9 million votes. Take a look at those pictures coming out of the new Peter Mokaba Stadium. And that's, of course, at the new Peter Mokaba Stadium in Limpopo, of course. And let's go to this now. The ANC's nearly 3-month election campaign, of course, period, as we indicated, ending at the Siyanqoba Rally, but extending into this evening, as we heard from the ANC spokesperson there. So both our reporters, we spoke to Samkele Maseko a little bit earlier on, and Ntlanhla Kgatlana is also there covering the rally for us. And Ntlanhla, a very good morning to you. Thanks indeed for your time. Talk us through what those ANC members and supporters behind you are saying. Number one, with regards to the expectation of what they expect to hear from their party president, as well as the elections, which are just a couple of days away.
Yes, thank you so much, Griselda. Well, indeed, coming to you right here from FNB Stadium, where the ANC is set to hold its final rally ahead of the election. Griselda, we have moved to talk about if a political party can fill a stadium. Now we are slowly going to whether those numbers will translate into giving them a chance to govern. Since our arrival here, we've managed to interact with a couple of ANC members. As you can see behind me, people are slowly coming in to come and hear the ANC President Ramaphosa when he makes his final speech in this election. But with me, Christian, let me just bring in a couple of people that I've engaged with earlier. Ntate, thank you so much for your time. Rejwetse Omo, batho ba bua ba re ANC 30 years, banile le nako e ngata, abatswe mo pusong.
ANC ka sitswe mo pusong, ANC tla usa until because ko re ha ke re tle mo re tle o feleletsa se re thomileo ke hore ka di 29 batho ba le ba re ba kisana le bona ba tshwanetse ba tlise di ambulance police station ini sa hore ka hore ba bangwe ba tlawa ba bangwe ba botswa ko hospital re win ANC win ya wina ANC ya wina.
That was one of the members of the ANC, Griselda, pretty much saying that they are here to end what they have started. On the 29th, there's going to be a lot that's going to be happening. He's saying that a lot of people are going to be hospitalized when the results come out. But I have other people here, a young lady here who's going to talk to us about promises of the ANC in the last 30 years. People are saying, but Obare, ANC, mo 30 years, but eba face hakuna misebetsi. Wena ware
a ke dumelane le yona ka lebitso ke nna Sipati wa Hamoloi ke tswa ke le Kagiso Ward 8 a ke dumelane le yona. A lot of people go create mesebetsi. I can't believe young people, they don't want to contribute especially when it comes to the rally. I'm a first person since nothing at 2012. I've never been in FNB Stadium before. I've never been in ANC, but today I'm very happy. I don't know. I can say back then. Today, tomorrow I'll get something that I've been looking forward to it.
But
yes, a lot of people I can feel somehow yes, because now, but I believe from now after the 29 everything will be fine.
Now I would like to say I'm proud of the ANC because of what we have achieved. We are complaining about this and this and that, but we are not looking at what we have achieved from 1994. We have gained so much. We have RDPs, we have the 350, we have so we have gained so much from the ANC. It's only that we are only looking on the dark face. We are not looking at the progress that ANC have made. Thank you.
Well, you can tell that they are confident that ANC in the past 30 years has done a lot. I mean, one of them saying that yes, there might have been challenges, but still the ANC has done a lot. Pretty much sharing the very same sentiment of a lot of people that are here, Griselda. I mean, when we interacted with them, they considered the ANC might have challenges, but a lot was done under the ANC, and they remain confident that the ANC come and post the 29th of May, it will emerge victorious. But that remains to be seen, Griselda. Like I said earlier, that at some point during these campaignings, we were, interested in whether political parties will fill up stadiums as they garner support during their manifestos, during their campaignings. But now, will those numbers, translate to more votes come election day? Griselda, with that being said, it's back to you in studio.
Well, Ntantla Kgatlane, thank you very much indeed. SABC News political reporter at the stadium, of course, for the ANC's Siyanqoba Rally. Also, Samkele Maseko, who we spoke to a little bit earlier on. Don't forget as well, will also be crossing to the EFF's rally, which is taking place, of course, in Limpopo, in Polokwane. Of course, take a look there. That's the battle, I guess, of filling up the stadiums today. Certainly quite a big day in terms of electioneering. A number of political parties, of course, the Democratic Alliance itself holding its rally tomorrow, of course. SABC News covering various of these political parties. It's a last-minute push for each and every one of them as they try to amass as many votes as possible. And of course, all of that, let's see if all of the filling up of the stadiums and the door-to-doors will all culminate into votes for these political parties come the 29th of May. Just a couple of days away, all taking place on Wednesday, but the special votes, of course, taking place on Monday and Tuesday as well.